There we go. Hey guys, welcome to another Sunday session. I'm Kevin Shaw, editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. Watercraft Journal is the world's largest personal watercraft magazine, publishing free articles Monday through Friday, entirely free to you at watercraftjournal.com. That's www.watercraftjournal.com. Obviously, we do a lot of video. The video is to supplement the written articles that we publish every day, Monday through Friday, entirely free to you. No subscriptions, no downloads, no passwords, none of that crap. All right, guys. Hey, glad to be back. Everything seems to be working. The microphone's working. The camera's working. I don't want to jinx myself, but I think it's actually working out. So this actually might be dialed. Okay. Quick update on just some basic news. Let's get the news out of the way. What news we've got going on is first, I did put links up at the top. We had a little bit of shortage at Teespring. They had a little bit of shortage of hoodie sizes and hoodie colors. A couple guys were messaging me going, dude, all you got is like blue in like small and no black, no gray. So anyway, we reached out and they said it was a supply problem, but now they've got a lot of the colors and sizes back. So if you guys encountered anything on the store, I want to let you know that all the colors and sizes are back in stock. So please go ahead and check them out. Additionally, we did lower the price on the auxiliary fuel system kit. We dropped it down by $50. So that actually might save a lot of people some shipping. That might be able to help you convince the wife to let you spend the money. So anyway, we want to do that, get everyone ready in time for spring. Here's the big news. We were supposed to announce this last week, and with all the screw-ups, that it's all my fault, the technical screw-ups and stuff, the big thing was we were going to announce the 440-mile ride that we want to do here in Tennessee on the Cumberland River. And this is the ride that I did. I mapped out. I did it on the STX 160LX. Probably back in July or August. Anyhow, this time it'll probably be a little cool. Won't be cold because the ice is already melting and the snow is off the streets. So we're looking at probably temperatures in the 60s. And we are going to be doing that ride the last Saturday in March. All right. That is March 27th. I'm going to make a bigger announcement during the week and detail everything out. But for you guys who want to do the ride and join me, because I'm going to do it. And that ride is a true 440 miles. And it's a relay race, basically. Well, not relay race, but it's a destination and back ride. It's not going to be an official race. There's no insurance. There's no sanctioning body. There's no points. But if anyone beats me, they'll get prizes. I'll put it at that. So get the word out for a lot of you guys who are planning on doing a ride. We're going to we're going to really bang the drum in the next few days, but it's going to be March 27th. That's a Saturday. So there'll probably be some boat traffic and some river traffic. So we're going to have to weave around those guys. But we're going to do a true 440 mile, 220 miles one way, 220 miles back. And we will feed you that Saturday night. We'll get some cheap pizza and some sodas. You can provide your own adult beverages for yourself. But we'll have waters and soda and some pepperoni pizza. So anyhow, that is going to be the initial announcement. So guys, if you're interested in doing the ride that I talked about before here in Tennessee, You're going to run right down the Cumberland River. You're going to blow right past downtown Nashville, and it's going to take you up into Lane Between the Lakes and into the Tennessee River. And then we just run all the way down to a state park, Paris Landing, turn right around, and head all the way back. I will give you a list and a map of all of the gas stops way before the ride so that you can plan accordingly. There are not official gas stops. You will have to call ahead and make sure they're open, but I will tell you where all the potential gas stops are, and you can plan your ride. I know where I'm going to stop, but I'm using my tank, and you can use your tank. You can carry as much fuel as you humanly can. This isn't the Mark Hahn. Mark Hahn only limits you to what you got inside of the factory gas tank. I don't care if you load your ski down with 300 gallons of fuel. All right, so that's the big announcement. This is a little bit of a tease, but I wanted to get it out there first. We had a couple guys who were asking because they had to get like a month's advance when it came to time off at work. So anyhow, we're going to be really cognizant of you guys who have to get time off. And so ideally it'd be great if we did it like on a Wednesday, but where that's not logistically possible for a lot of people. So anyhow, we are going to be doing it March 27th. That is the date for us because Easter weekend is the next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I want to make sure. Let me check the calendar. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Easter weekend is that following weekend. So we're not messing with any major holidays. Okay. So today's a little bit of light lifting. I'm not going to be doing a real big technical breakdown. We've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So I live in Colorado. John writes, I want to see this. I live in Colorado and ride at high altitude lakes, 8 to 10,000 feet. Will naturally aspirated be fine at those altitudes, or would you recommend a supercharger? Well, here's the problem. Well, it's not a problem. All watercraft, all fuel injected watercraft, just like your car, they're going to adjust. They will naturally adjust if the altitude is too thin, if the altitude is at sea level, it's going to adjust. So you're going to want to adjust accordingly. Now, for us, hold on a second. I got to... Writing messages. Sorry, too many things at once. Okay, so okay, I do have friends who ride who have Seadoos and they're supercharged. I borrowed, do not currently own my own yet. Honestly, it all depends on what you're interested in, and it all depends on how fast you plan on riding. It depends on what kind of riding you do. When people ask me what kind of jet ski should I buy, it's a really hard question because it's almost like, what kind of shoes should I buy? Well, are you going to church? Are you going dancing? Are you going to go run a marathon? You know, there's a lot to go in there. Okay, so anyway, I'll get back to everyone's questions. I'm going to be coming back to all this, but I want to do my very silly light lifting my list that I've been tinkering with for the last couple hours. And then as I think I'm done with the list, I add another one, and it's really, really hard. A lot of people will know that I'm not terribly brand loyal. I find attributes that I really like in some things and other stuff that I just don't like. And I'm going to give you kind of warts and all the stuff I love about the skis I picked and why I picked them. And then the one thing that doesn't make it, because there's not one of these that are, I got all these stupid Post-it notes all over my desk of different skis. There's not one that I just am like, this is the best. I have a really hard time with that. And so I'm going to kind of cherry pick around, and you guys can just laugh and say I'm an idiot. That's okay. But I don't know. Do you guys want me to do this by brand, or do you want me to do this by model year? Oldest to newest, or newest to oldest, or by brand? You tell me right now, because I'll adjust accordingly. But I'll start with it. I'll start with a brand that's no longer involved. Was Honda. The 2000 on my list. We're gonna do it oldest to newest. Oldest to newest. Okay. Well, now you're gonna know that Honda's on my list. But let's go oldest. All right. So I only have I have two strokes on this, and there's gonna be a lot of guys who are really, really mad at me. And so yes, we're going to do oldest to newest, guys. Okay. So yeah, I feel really bad because I'm like, man, there's going to be a lot of guys who are really mad that I'm just not going to talk about a lot of two strokes. And that's unfortunate. I know. You guys are going to be irate, and I could go down like the XPs and the HXs and all that kind of fun stuff because I'm too young. I'm 43 years old. Is that too young? But I mean, don't get me wrong. That's not to say that I didn't ride them, but I found it's like I could talk about a square nose, and I could sit there and talk about my brother's square. My brother had a square nose forever, and I rode that thing. And the problem is that they're superior superjets. So I sit there and I just go, well, crap. I can't say the square nose, this 94 square nose was the best, because honestly, I liked the most current superjet. But then it's like, of all of them, would I pick that superjet over the new superjet? Not so much. I think the balance on holy cow, we got two super chats right in a row. We got almost $2 from E30 Spiz, and Planeta Tierra came back again with a fiver. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it. So I really struggled with the two-stroke stand-ups. And my personal favorite two-stroke stand-up, and this sounds really silly, but my favorite was a 2009 SXR 800. And the 2009, which the SXR 800 almost doesn't matter what year you say, because it was almost identical for well over a decade. Or almost a decade, excuse me. But the SXR 800, to me, now obviously skis are going to fit different people differently. I'm 6'2" and 240 pounds. Now, when I was riding an SXR 800, I was another 22 pounds. Yeah, 22 pounds lighter. But I really, really enjoyed the SXR 800, primarily because, yeah, it is a big ski. Number one, it's buoyant. It's a big stand-up. All right. Number two is the balance of the ski. The balance of the ski, and this is not modified at all. I'm not going to do any modified versions. I've ridden some amazing skis that were modified, like heavily modified, race skis, actual racer skis. But in all honesty, I just couldn't get past the year I had with an SXR 800. I thoroughly enjoyed that ski. I loved where the handle pole was. I loved the tray. I could get in and out of the tray. It was honestly the easiest ski for me to start on. And that sounds weird, but I could literally put a foot in the stand, with a foot in the tray, and have it kind of cocked out, but have a foot in the tray and be knee deep in the water and just rip on it and go, and it would pull me right up and out. And now lighter riders can do that on anything. But a big, heavy guy like me, SXR did it great. Now, I tried doing it on the SXR 1500, and it didn't like it. And it just didn't like it. And I tried and tried and tried. And I had that ski for 6 months in here. I mean, I took it to every beach I could here in Tennessee. Not a lot of beaches. And it just didn't feel like that 800 did. The 800 was a big ski, but it ate up chop and it ate up the waves. And I mean, I could set up turns on that ski, and I could really hang out over the rail on it. And the SXR 800 to me just was the pinnacle of two-stroke stand-ups. Now I know I'm not jumping waves with it. I'm not doing freestyle. Randy Lane and Mark Gomez and Scott Watkins would all call me an idiot. But man, I just really, really enjoyed the SXR 800. And I had an R&D performance ride plate on mine. And it was just, that's all I needed. I had the R&D steering kit, and I had the R&D ride plate on it, and that was it for me. I didn't need anything to the engine. I didn't need to mess with the prop. I put the ride plate on it, and we ended up putting tubby sponsons on it, and it tracked really nice, but it was a lot of work. And to be honest, I really could have enjoyed the SXR 800 without the tubbies almost as much. The tubbies helped. Don't get me wrong. They were John Dady's from Blosian. And boy, we missed that guy. John Dady. Wow. Can't believe he's been gone that long. But anyhow, so yeah, I'm gonna start with the SXR 800. But there's an older two-stroke I wanted to talk about before that. And well, there's an older unit than that. Actually, there's a handful, but as far as two-strokes go, let's do the SXR 800. But the oldest on my list is one of the winningest personal watercraft. R&D. Bill Chapin and Glenn Dickinson. Yeah, those guys absolutely knew their stuff. They just had a hard time transitioning into the digital marketplace. And it was hard for them to get their hands on models, hands on units. Riva gets the new units sometimes 8 months early. And often, and many times they're involved in the development of product. Seadoo and Yamaha, they really are. And R&D just couldn't keep up with that. Riva just has so much momentum behind them. It was really hard. Plus, you know what? Bill was tired, and Bill's a workhorse, and he focuses in. And if he couldn't focus in and give 150%, he wasn't going to do it. And Glenn was ready to cash out. So I know that some of their designs went to Riva. Some of their products went to Riva. But I think everything else got kind of piecemealed out. So, yeah, that's too bad, Peter, but you're right. But I'm going to talk about the winningest runabout for a decade. And it made so many world champions. It made legends. It made Dustin Farthing a legend. Chris McCluggage was already a legend in his own way, but he rode this. Dustin Matsura's rode this, and he's a stand-up guy. Craig Warner cut his teeth on this ski, and that was easily the 2002 STXR 1200. that triple cowie and that little STX hull, dude, here's the problem. I'm actually being tainted by built race skis because box stock, it's fun, but I've been on a couple of the race units, and a full tilt pro-am or pro open STXR 2000, white with the green and white checkered or green and black checkered flag decals on it. That little runabout is the hairiest, fastest little two-stroke runabout. Oh, man, it's the most visceral. I'll tell you what. Years ago, I got a chance to go for a ride in an original 427 Ford, FE 427, 65 or 66 AC Cobra. And a real one, all right? Now, here's the difference between a real Shelby Cobra and the repops is that the real Shelby Cobras, if you pop the hood on one, you look in the engine compartment, they beat those things out with a ball peen hammer and a body dolly. And none of the panels are smooth on the inside. The outside are smooth because they're full of Bondo and they're full of filler and, they had to be pretty. But the firewall and the inside of those cars are brutally raw, all right? And that car is raw. It is raw. The floorboards get hot. The road dust comes up. The pipes are right next to your feet and your legs, so your feet are getting hot. The floorboards get hot. Everything rattles. Everything shakes. It's louder just louder than the devil. And it is a visceral experience. And I'm going to tell you right now, a fully built 2002 Kawasaki STXR is an AC Cobra. It really, truly is. That thing was absolutely bats. It was bats. It was crazy. That thing was so, stock, again, boring. But built, forget about it. Forget about it. And a lot of Yamaha guys are going like, dude, what about the GP 1300, GP 1300, bro, it's a fast. I'm like, I know, but nothing beat. More champions were made on the STXR. So for me and for the industry, I give it to the STXR on that one. So that's my 2002. Let's see here. I had, they're all 8s. Okay. It's kind of weird. I got 2 2008s on this list. Let's go to the Honda. All right. For 2008, Honda introduced the the F-15X. And the 15 was the bigger hull. It was a 3-seater. It had the bigger motor in it. It had a 1.5 liter with a turbo. It made 198 horsepower. It made 198 horsepower. It wasn't a monster. It really wasn't a killer hot rod out of the box. But here's the thing. Honda took the Ultra, the Ultra 250, Ultra 260 hull, or the bow, I'd say the front section of the Ultra, and they grafted it to the then FX 140. Because if you looked at that hull, it had this really aggressive bow rise and had this really aggressive hull in the front. But then as it evened out, you started to see these lifting streaks, and there were these. It had this really sharp, leveled outside chine, almost like a Seadoo. But then it had these lifting streaks that came in, and it was a very gentle keel. It really was. So at speed, at cruising speed, that ski rode like an FX, rode like an FX, rode like a Yamaha. But in rough, it was like a Cowie because it was the bow was doing all the work. The problem was getting the pump hooked up because it had no worthwhile intake rate. There was the weakest little blade on it. It wasn't a top loader at all. It wasn't aggressive at all. It needed some help there. Needed sponsons. Needed an intake rate badly, and it needed to have the ECU opened up. And once you rode one that was opened up, and we did a video talking about opening up the Ultra, opening up the Honda F-15 Turbo using max boost, and the guys at R&D. Bill Chapin custom made some sponsons. He custom made an intake rate, and he custom pitched the prop. And then we reflashed the ECU and changed the blow-off valve spring. And that ski ran 75, 76 with a light rider on it. And it was impressive. It was really impressive. The other thing that was really impressive about the Honda was all of the engine technology that was in that ski. It was a dual overhead cam. Was it a 5-valve or just a 4-valve? But it was a 4-cylinder, 4-stroke, dual overhead cam with variable valve timing, if I'm not mistaken. I think it had sprung gear, gear sprung cam cogs on it, so that it wasn't like VTEC. It wasn't like that advanced, but it did have a degreeable cam in it. Because I remember all the information on it. And I'm like, this thing's got adjustable cams. And they're like, sort of. And I'm like, you're underplaying it. This thing's adjustable cam. The other thing was that the engine was a 2-stage dry sump. And it was a 2-stage dry sump. And it was turbo. And there was some really tricky stuff on that engine. Had the really neat removable access panels. Those were kind of cool. Those helped out a little bit. Made pulling an engine real easy. Oh, you could actually access the motor mounts on it. And what was neat was that the panels allowed for a more narrow seat. And at the time, there was no ergo lock at the time. It was 2008. So every seat was a mile wide. And why were they that wide? Because they had to get the engine out of it. In order to service the ski, you had to be able to get the engine out in a worst case scenario. Well, what Honda did is they said, well, hell, we'll just shrink everything but put removable panels, and that way you pull the panels off, engine comes out. Oh, it was brilliant. Great idea. The biggest problem with the Honda was that it was designed to force you to sit down, and I swear it was designed. I made the joke in the personal Watercraft Illustrated. What did I say? Oh, I said it was designed by angry dwarves who hated tall people, because you couldn't ride it standing up at all. You were completely bent over if you were trying to stand up while riding it, because the handlebars are so sunk low. So that was a problem. But I really liked the F-15. Now I'll tell you what though, I loved the colors of the GPS scape, the red and the metallic red and the black. But the GPS was one of the worst operating features I'd ever tested on a personal watercraft. The Honda GPS that they had on the dashboard was the worst thing ever. It was terrible. All right. Same model year, and I'm going to gush over this one, was the 2008 Seadoo RXPX 255. Now, this was the first year of the X series. Okay, and they had the big gaudy X decals on the sides, and they Seadoo wanted to make a big effort about we make 5 horsepower more than the Kawi. And the funny thing was, I think they made like 20 or 25 horsepower less than the Kawi. This is back when Seadoo really rounded up their numbers. Like there was some really sketchy number work going on, and everyone was calling out Seadoo at the time. So for Seadoo to say, "Yeah, we've got 5 more horsepower than the Kawi," it was totally disingenuous. But the 2008 RXPX 255, I'm telling you, it was one of the first 4-strokes that if you trimmed up all the way and just nailed it, that ski would go vertical and clear the water. It literally just completely shoot itself out of the water with me on it. So anyone who's like, oh yeah, the tricks is so much fun. I said, go get an 08 255. Honestly, go get a 2008 255. That thing not only will do wheel stands, but if you really get on it, it'll shoot you out of the water. Tricks won't do that. RXPX will. That ski, and it had the kickouts and the footwells. The footwells, if you put your feet all the way back, it almost went. They almost went vertical. It was really cool. And that ski was one of the first that I really learned that supercharged 4-strokes could far surpass 2-strokes, anything 2-strokes could do. And I mean, I was racing an Ultra 250X at the time. I was racing it. And the Ultra 250 was great. It was a lot of fun. But the 2008 RXPX 255 looked cool, had that metallic orange with the silver, and it had the chrome pieces on it. And it was the most overcomplicated design. I mean, holy cow, it had rounded surfaces and angled surfaces, and then the diamond plate traction mats. It was this parts bin Frankenstein either. But that ski was an absolute hoot, and you could power slide it for like 30 feet. If you came into it and then whipped it and put it on its bond rail, that ski would just go and slide for 30 feet. It just, completely, it was so responsive. It was so responsive. Yeah, that was a really, really neat ski. That was a really neat ski. And I'll tell you what, at the time, Tim McKercher at Seadoo, he knew I was a car guy and stuff, and he would always kind of try to talk my language. And he's like, hey, it's a muscle craft. It's not a muscle car. It's a muscle craft. And I'm like, well, I get it, And he's like, oh, it's a muscle craft. And I'm like, all right. And I go out there and I ride this thing. I'm like, this thing's a hot rod. It's so much stinking fun. And guys modified the piss out of those skis. They were going 83, 84 all day long in them. I know that's, the 215, the black and green 05 is what started Green Hulk. But it was the 08 255 that to me was like, oh, okay, this thing's a real contender. And don't get me wrong, I raced a 2009 RXTX 255 for that year because I was doing closed course and some endurance racing. And that one was fun, but it wasn't nearly as playful. Simon, I'm going to get to that. My list keeps going. So, KDH, we got $10. Got here before you talk. How about great the FZs were? I got one. Hold on. So let's see. We did the the RXPX 2008. Oh, well then here we go. Okay, let's see. We're doing this chronologically. All right, so we did the 2002 STXR 800. Excuse me, the 2002 STXR 1200. We did the 2008 RXPX 255. We did the oh yeah, you had to rebuild the supercharger every 30 hours. You just devoured the clutches on those things. They all have warts, dude. They all have warts. They all aren't perfect. But these again are my favorites. Talk about the 2008 Honda F-15X. So let's talk about, let's talk about 2009. 2009, I was just hanging up the Ultras, and I got into the RXTX, and I was throwing parts at that RXTX to get it into the mid 70s, and I thought I had a pretty quick RXTX. Then Yamaha came out with the FZR. And I just went, damn. The FZR, the all black with the blue, little bit of blue, the decals were blue, the seats were blue, with those bright red gauges, those 2 analog gauges. And I looked at that ski and I just went, crap. Then, speaking of Bill Chapin, R&D, Bill Chapin, and Mike Fulmer got that ski to do 80 miles an hour. And at the time, 80 was... You had to be bananas to go 80. You had to spend so much money to go 80. And they did it with a factory engine, a factory supercharger. You didn't have to change the cams. Didn't have to mess with the pistons. Took $10,000 to do it. It honestly took $10,000 to make that ski do 80. But Mike Fulmer had an 82 mile an hour FZR, and it just embarrassed us. He wiped the floor with us. And the FZR not only was just gorgeous, it was gorgeous. Such a good-looking ski. Anyone who tells you otherwise was a crack baby. I'm telling you. The FZR was one of the most handsome, gorgeous machines. Absolutely gorgeous. Biggest problem, seat was 10 feet wide. It was like riding bareback on a Clydesdale. Seat was way too wide. Now, the trick of it is that every racer was sliding his butt over and dropping a knee in the tray every time he was turning. So he was never actually on the seat straight. He was always favoring one side. He'd slide to the left, slide to the right to go around the buoy. But the FZ was just one of the most attractive machines ever designed. Yeah. And the SHO, the super high output, 1812 cc's, with that HKS supercharger on. Well, it wasn't the HKS. It was another supercharger on it. But centrifugal supercharger. Dude, I'm telling you. That thing, I didn't get a lot of seat time on that ski. That's the biggest problem, is that I didn't get a lot of seat time on that ski. I rode later. I rode a bunch of SVHOs, and of course those were faster and more responsive and had better parts. But that first year, 2009, of the FZR, forget it. Just forget it. Yeah, it was a wide seat carried over from the GP, but it didn't matter because it was completely unique. It was completely different. Deck was different. Hull was different. Everything was a completely different machine. But it was wide because that stinking motor had to clear the sides of the engine compartment. It was so funny because I remember the FZ coming out, or the FZs. I remember the last year of the FZ when they introduced Ride, and they had the VXR. It was yellow and black, and the VXR had Ride on it, had the brakes on it. But then there was a red and black with white decal FZR sitting there. FZR didn't have brakes. FZR had the twist trim. And I just went, I'd rather be on the VXR. And I knew that was something was mentally wrong with me. I was like, I'd rather be on the VXR than the FZR. And you know what's funny? FZR also had something that I thought was the coolest feature that no one's done again. And that was the telescopic steering. That was fantastic. Fantastic. So I don't know why they never did anything with that. I don't know why. But anyhow, yeah, FZR. I love the looks of the FZR more than anything. I love the gauges of the FZR more than anything. I love the telescopic steering of the FZR. But the GP was when the GP in 2017, when the GP came out, everyone's like, there's no way the GP 1800R could beat the FZR on the race course. And that was proven demonstrably wrong. The GP has gone on to win everything. But at the time, I was like, man, there's no way that little thing is going to beat the FZR. Now, don't get me wrong. The FZR is the ski that they're making world records in drag racing. And, it's a very slippery hull, and it just is a really good machine. But, yeah, the GP just beat the FZR like a $4 horse. It was just crazy. So anyway, okay. So 2009 FZR SHO. Next on my list is, and you guys might laugh at me on this one, 2012 Seadoo GTR 215. Don't get me wrong. This is the same year that the brand new RXPX 260 came out. And that ski sucked all the air out of the room. When the new RXPX 260 came out, that was the only thing people wanted to talk about. That was it. Done. Everything else is garbage. Everything else is a dumpster fire. I want to talk about the RXPX 260. And I'm over here looking at this little black, white, and orange thing, and I'm going, why are you talking to me? What about this thing is screaming at me? And I got one for a while. And I'm telling you, guys, I had more fun, just fun, on the GTR 215 than probably any ski in at least four to 5 years. The GTR 215 was supercharged. It was quick. Get on it. Whoop! You feel the superchargers spin up. And it was quick. It only did like 67, 68. But it was loose where it wanted to be loose. It tracked really well. It was very predictable where it tracked. Steering response on that ski was really lightning quick. I mean, boom. You snapped the bars and gave it throttle, that ski hooked and went. And that's without that's with factory sponsons. I had a blast with that ski. I had so much fun. And what was neat was that it wasn't the big boost supercharged 260, so it got pretty decent gas mileage. And I mean, it only had the 15.8 gallon tank in it. Had the small tank in it, but it was just a blast. It was a lot. It was a low frill riot. It was an absolute riot. It had sport mode, had eco mode, had electric trim. I don't think it had cruise. I can't remember if any of you guys have one or had one, and if it had cruise control, let me know. But I don't think it did. But the GTR 215 was just a blast. And I didn't have supercharger problems with it. I didn't have to replace a wear-ring with it. I didn't wear through any props. I had zero carbon seal problems. It treated me like my best girlfriend. I mean, it was an absolute riot. It was so much fun. And I could put my kid on it and my wife on it, and we could go fully fart around on the lake and bring some food and chill out. I really, really enjoyed that ski. And anyone who asked me about it, I would immediately say yes. If you can get your hands on one, get your hands on one. They were just... Now, don't get me wrong, from 2012 all the way up to, what was it, like 2019 was the last year of it. I think it was black and blue, like a really electric blue and black. I think it was 2019 was the last year of it. And it was almost completely unchanged. I think they upgraded the dashboard. But that ski was just... Guys, it was smiles per hour. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And it was loosey-goosey. Here's the thing, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to pretend that the skis that I'm talking about were anything more than what they were designed to be. Okay? I'm not going to tell you that the FZR was the greatest long-distance cruiser. It wasn't. I mean, there's guys who do it, but whatever. That's not what it was designed to do. So, anyhow, I mean, it's like, oh, RXPX. How was it offshore? Garbage offshore. 2008 RXPX 255. It was trash. It was a cork out in the ocean. But it was meant to be fun and loose and squirrely. And that's what it was. And it delivered in spades. Okay. So I did 2012. 2015. This one is brute force. This one tickled me on every single thing except for one solitary thing. So it's 99% perfect. Actually, I had a 2016 model for a year, but it was the 2015 that made me fall in love with it. Was the Kawasaki Ultra 310X SE, the special edition. Now, the SE is only available in the US. And the SE, what the SE is that it's a special color. And it's the standard 310X steering, but it's got the 310R seat. So you got a custom color and a racier seat, two-tone seat. 2016 is the model I had, but I rode a 2015 first SE, and why I loved it so much was it had the most beautiful color, and it was this metallic burnt orange. And Cowie got it off of their Terex line, and it was this color that exploded like fireworks under the sun. The color on this thing was mesmerizing. I'm not exaggerating. It was so impressive. And it didn't look like anything else in a field of jet skis. If you could, imagine like for you guys who went to Havasu on Memorial Day weekend during the 90s, where you could walk from boat to boat to boat, in a field of jet skis, that Ultra would stand out. It was black on black with this burnt orange metallic paint, the hood, the fairings, the seat, the decals, and the Ultra. And if the 310 is the culmination of the 2007 and up Ultras. It's everything they needed to fix. It was everything they needed to learn. The balance of the ski was right. The power delivery, the acceleration, the boost levels. 2016, that was the model I had. I had it for almost a year. I took it to Mudbug. I took it on probably 6 trips that year, which is a lot for one ski. I put up the most hours, I think, of any ski than that. In fact, Travis, I was going to make a second Copperhead out of a 2016. I wanted it that bad. Here was the problem. One thing. No brakes. No brakes. And that killed me. I had no brakes. Had that stupid has that manual reverse, and it doesn't even have a neutral. For goodness sakes! All right, here's the index, and the index goes in here for drive, and then up here for reverse. In between drive and reverse, they need to cut a hole and allow for an actual locking neutral. They haven't done that yet. How on earth can you not do that? I mean, guys, just give me a neutral, all right? Brakes are coming later, but give me a neutral for the love of Pete. Oh, my gosh. Storage, killer. Fuel capacity, killer. Power delivery, killer. Offshore prowess, killer. Everything about that Ultra, killer, except for the brakes. No brakes. Mark, you make an interesting point. He goes too fat and heavy. All right. Here's the interesting thing. They list the weight at 1048 or 1049. Let me get a drink. Excuse me, guys. I think it's 1048. Here's the funny thing. That's curb weight. That's curb weight. What is curb weight? There's a difference between curb weight and dry weight. Seadoo and Yamaha list their dry weight. That means no fuel, no oil. And for Seadoo, that also means no coolant. I'm not joking. Completely dry. Fluid free. Cowie gives you a curb weight. Well, how much does a gallon of gasoline weigh? Well, golly gee, it weighs 6 pounds a gallon. Oh, and then all of a sudden you got oil. Well, how much does oil weigh? Oh, well, suddenly I've got all this fluid in here. You take the weight out of the curb weight. I'm not joking, guys. This is important. Everyone says a Cowie is a big, heavy pig, right? We all say, oh, it's so heavy. Oh, it's so big. Oh, my gosh. What am I going to do? Guys, it's like 30 pounds heavier than an RXTX 300. That's it. It's like I think it's like 37 or 38 pounds. When you do dry weight to dry weight, calculate it. In fact, we did an article on the Watercraft Journal, and we calculated the true dry weight of the Ultra, and it was like 37, 38 pounds heavier than the current RXTX 300. 37 pounds, that's not a big deal. All right. By the way, dimensionally, not that much bigger either. In fact, it's shorter than the now ST3 Seadoo. It is. So everyone who says the Ultra is this big, heavy thing, I don't know what to tell you. It's a wives' tale. It's, it's gossip. It's a lie. All right. It's just not real. It's really not that bad. So anyhow, I want that. Here's the problem. If Kawasaki came out with brakes next year, I would want to find the hood, fairings, decal, basically all the coloring. And because I know it'd be green. I know Cowie would make it green. Ugh. I would literally want one of those, and I would transplant all the 2016 plastics onto it. And I would retro a 2022 Ultra in 2016 colors. I love those colors so much. And dude, I got more looks on that ski. I got more people asking me about that ski. People stopped me at gas stations. I'm telling you, that ski was just 99% dead on. Really was. If I could get a Riva top loader intake grate, well, no. If I could get a Riva ride plate, R&D sponsons, R&D intake grate, no. That's the old stuff I used to race. To be honest, I'd probably just do a stage 1 kit from K-Speed and call it a day. Do 78 miles an hour, 77 miles an hour, reflash ECU, pump wedge, intake grate, 77 miles an hour. Dude, how can you beat that? How can you beat that on a Cowie? Oh, forget it. So anyway, that's my separate post-it note specifically on Cowie. All right, so that brings us 2016. We got a 2019, and then we got a 2020. All right. I think I've checked everyone else off. Let me make sure. Honda, Seadoo, Yamaha FZR. Okay, 2019. 2019, Yamaha introduced possibly the funnest ski since the 2008 RXPX 255. And definitely does not have the same horsepower. Definitely does not have the same dimensions or weight. But it was the Yamaha EXR. The Yamaha EXR is the closest we are ever going to get to a wave jammer. That's it. Or a black. Well, I say wave jammer. A wave blaster. The 2019 and up Yamaha EXR is the closest you and I are ever going to get to a wave blaster. I don't think they're ever going to bring back the wave blaster. I really don't. Especially with Scott Watkins retiring. I just don't see it happening. But the Yamaha EXR weighs nothing. It weighs like 70 pounds less than the other EXRs. So I think it's mid, or the EXR weighs less. That's right. The EXR weighs less. Check this one out. The EXR weighs less than the current SXR 1500 stand-up. That's how featherweight the EXR weighs. So the EXR is 110 horse, little two-seater bench. It's a wave blaster. I really advocate following what the directions of the manufacturers say. I do. If you want the most life out of your ski, do what they tell you to do. But I'll tell you what, I had a day with the EXR rides well if you're an adult and you have a kid with you, or if you got two teenagers or two lightweight adults. And I'll tell you why. It's top heavy. All right. It pendulums. and because you feel a little bit like you're sitting high on it. It just has that feeling. You're not necessarily doing it. Well, Mark, I was going to say, I don't recommend jumping jet skis. I don't, because manufacturers tell you not to. And when people come to me, I kind of have to defer to those because it's responsible operation. But I'll tell you what, I had an EXR. Yamaha, we were doing a photo shoot, and Yamaha was like, go ahead and goof off with it. We'll be over at the dock. Well, there was a guy with a wake boat, and he wasn't towing anyone. And I went up and I said, hey, listen, this isn't my, I'm usually not this guy, but is it cool if I jump your wake a few times? He's like, sure. And he put down the ballast on it, because I think it was one of those Mastercrafts that have the big ballast on it, the adjustable ballast on it. And he got down there and went, whoa, and it kicked up these just gnarly wakes. And I was out on Lake Allatoona, and I just got on it, like, pinned on it. It's like 55 miles an hour. Wing! And that, it just, and I'm sitting there, and it's like, I got to get the tail down or I'm going to land flat and I'm really going to get hurt. So I brought the tail back down and I tombstoned it. Just, whoa! Popped right out. Did it again. Ring! This guy's he honked the horn after about 2 or 3 jumps. I came back. I jacked my wrist. So I didn't care. I was having so much fun. I felt like I was 17. I came back, and one of the fleet kids, it wasn't the media guy, but one of the fleet kids, he drives the truck and dumps the trailer off into the water and stuff. Young kid. He's out there smoking a clove or whatever. And he's like, dude, you got some air on that first one. I'm like, yeah, I did. And EXR, dude. EXR power slide, do donuts. You know what's funny? I think it must have been 2 days ago. I got a guy, he emails me. He goes, hey, how's the EX, like the EX Deluxe, out in the ocean? I'm like, oh, it's so much fun. It's super rowdy. He's like, well, is it a dry ride? No. Well, is it stable? No. Don't ask a bulldog to compete in a dog race. It's not meant to do this. It's not what it's meant to do, guys. You got to think about what it was designed to do. And so, yeah, that was I still love the ski. I wish I could shove that one. When was the last time you remember someone smoking a clove cigarette? LOL. I think it was probably at like a punk ska show, maybe like Goldfinger in 1997. But we have bulldog races at the horse track. Really? Jeez, I can't imagine. Tiny little legs. Anyway, EXR. I really loved the EXR. And it's funny because I always fight with the other guys that help me with the Watercraft of the Year judging. And I'm like, guys, we got to put the EXR in there. And they're like, yeah, it's cool, but how many did they sell? Well, they sold about 1,800 of them. Yeah, we can't stick it in there. All right. I mean, I just want to force it in. I love that ski. No, not the XP. No, not the XP. No. Stop asking me. There's other people there who are saying the 96. No, I don't care. I didn't care about the XP. All you guys with hard-ons for the XPs. Good Lord. Ugh. Sorry. I'm just not a fan. We jump wakes from barges being pushed on the Mississippi here in Wisconsin. All right, last one. Then I'll answer questions. Last one, and this is, honest to God, my favorite ski right now. Favorite ski right now. Hands down. No argue. Absolutely love it. There is nothing wrong with this ski. I haven't found a thing wrong with it. And I'm going to tell you what it was. 2020 Yamaha FX SVHO, not cruiser. Black on black with flat black. 2020 FX SVHO. Hands down. Guys, nothing beats it. Black on black, so stupid. It's irresponsible to have a fully blacked out ski. It's irresponsible, but it looks so good. It is something so irresponsible about a fully blacked out ski. God help you if you get caught out in the storm, or if you're out in the ocean, you run out. Yeah, you'll never be found. They'll never find you. But it doesn't matter because you'll look cool when you die. It is the coolest. It's one of the most handsome design skis. It is comfortable. The dash is great. The ergonomics are good. It's not Ergolock. I love Ergolock, but I love Ergolock. Oh, if I could get an FX with Ergolock, I'd be dancing on air. But the 2020 FX SVHO non-cruiser. I'm 6'2", so the cruiser seat, I hate to say it, but the cruiser seat, I always sit on the lumbar like a hemorrhoid donut. You know, one of those red donuts. You see like an old man sitting on it. That's why I like the non-cruiser, because it gives you a lot more room to slide back. You drop the bars down, put your feet up, and you're like Easy Rider, just like this. You know. And then you get up on it, and you want to be aggressive. You trim down, you get on the throttle, and it hooks. It hooks so hard. And it hooks naturally. It cavitates a little bit out of the hole. I get it. It really does. I mean, the transom is still 155, and it goes into a 160 pump. Then you basically have to take the transom off, send it off to Dean's team, have Dean mill it out. Okay, now you got a 160 transom plate. Okay, are they going to fix it next year? Are they going to go like with the GP? Maybe. Who knows? We'll find out. Then, you know, the ride plate. The ride plate is literally a parachute. The ride plate on that ski was intentionally designed to slow it down. The factory ride plate on all FX Watercraft, literally, okay, here's the ski, here's the bow, here's the tail. The ride plate is like this. Well, what does that do? That forces the nose down. So what are you doing? You're literally dragging through the water. So what do? You throw that ride plate in the garbage. I mean, you can send it off and have it cut, and you can have it reshaped, and okay, cool. Frankly, I would just take an impact, pull it out, put it on a shelf in my garage, and call Riva and get their ride plate and bolt on 2.25 miles per hour and a drier ride. You don't need to reflash the ECU. You don't need to add a stupid little skirt in the front to keep the water from coming up. If you want to ride your ski in your Sunday best, in your jeans and dress shoes, it's a wet ride. I can't get it. It's a wet ride. Get the ride plate on there. Get the pump wedge. Yeah, no, not pump wedge. Why did I say pump wedge? I meant the seal kit, the intake grate and ride plate seal kit. Transom, mill that out. Ride plate, and then do Riva's 8,000 RPM reflash. It's the stock tune. It's a stock tune, but it gets rid of the boost limiter and the boost signal limiter, and it gets rid of the 8,000, or it allows you up to 8,000 RPM, and you'll do 75 all day long. If not more. I think you'll do 76, 77. Yes, you will. You'll do like 76. Yeah, I remember them telling me you'll do over 76 miles an hour. That was with Jesus. I'm a big fat ass, so maybe slower. Sorry. But Yeah. If I bought one, if I was to buy a ski today, it'd be a 2020 FX SVHO, and I would do those mods on it. Reflash the ECU, ride plate, number one, ride plate, reflash the ECU, and then if I got a wild hair at my butt and I wanted to take my ski down, take it apart over the winter, I'd pull the transom plate off, have Dean's team mill it out, and actually I have a machine shop. He'd mill it out easy. I have a friend with a machine shop. And Dean's team isn't doing anything spectacular. He just mills it out from 155 to 160. Okay. It's not even like trick tapered or anything. And then bolt that back together. Dude, forget it. Yeah, I absolutely love that one. Intake grate on that ski is fine because it's a Riva intake grate. It's actually, when they redesigned the ski in 2019, it was a top loader intake grate that they literally got the design from Riva, like licensed. Well, no, it's not licensed. Part of the licensing agreement with Riva getting the skis early is that Yamaha gets to steal some of their parts designs, and like the ride plate on the GP and the ride plate and the intake grate on the GP are old Riva parts. No joke. Look at them. One's powder coated, one's not. That's the difference. Okay, that's it. Those are my picks. Until the new models come out, I'm gonna stick with those. So let's go to the chats. We're gonna go up to the chats. All righty. Friends who have Seadoo. Okay, answered that. Kevin, I'm picking up a 2021 Yamaha GP 1800R SVHO. I've been doing some research about impellers. Based on some research, I hear due to hot temperatures and humidity, the RPM will drop while riding. Would getting a 13-18 pitch impeller help compensate for loss? No and no. No. Toby, I would leave that ski. I'd leave the pump alone. I'd leave the prop alone. Don't touch it. The guys who immediately throw a prop on a ski are from 1996. Prop ain't the problem. The problem with the Yamahas, well, first, when you get your ski, make sure you have the right transom plate. Please do not accept the ski. Once again, Toby, do not accept the ski until you check the part number on the transom plate. Get your phone with a flashlight or an actual real flashlight and look at the number. It's a three-digit number. I did a video on it. It's a 4-minute video or 3-minute video on it. Please do not sign any paperwork. Do not accept that ski until you check the transom, because if it's got the wrong transom, you're going to be in a world of trouble trying to get Yamaha and your dealer to replace that transom plate. There's too many reports of guys who are encountering problems and getting their dealer, getting a fire under the butt of their dealer to replace those. So listen to me when I tell you, do not go down to the service department, go into the shop or wherever it is, and say, I am not accepting this ski until I make sure it's got the right transom plate. That's number one. Number two, reflash the ECU. Put a stock Riva tune on it. It's the dealer 8000 tune. You can literally call Riva up and say, I hear there's an 8000 stock tune. What is it? And they will tell you what it is, and they will repeat exactly what I'm going to tell you. And that is, it is the stock tune, all right? Except that it gets rid of the rev limiter, all right? Today, on a 2020, with my big butt on it, I went 75 miles an hour in freezing weather. Actually, it was kind of warm out. It was 48 degrees, but on the lake, it was a little bit colder. But there was ice still on, snow on the hills. Where the video is coming out. But anyhow, Reflash the ECU. Leave the prop alone. Good Lord, leave the prop alone. Oh. Yeah, don't touch it. Whoever's trying to sell you on that's an idiot. Just telling you. Reflash the ECU. Put the engine breather kit on it. And if you're going to go bigger, do a stage 1. Stage 1 is air, the air intake, cold air kit. There's a cooling upgrade kit. That you really don't need the cooling upgrade kit unless you're going to change the supercharger wheel, which you don't really need to do that because you'll be going 81 miles an hour with a stage 1 kit. So the stage 1.5 kit, I think, is 82 miles an hour. So do that. Don't change the prop. Prop is a last resort. Plus, they're a pain in the ass to get off. The Yamaha props are on there with freaking magic glue. I don't know what the heck. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. What other questions we got? Jerry Gaddis had one back in the day. Cracked 80. I want to say 82. Oh, yeah, an RXPX? Yeah. No brakes to keep you honest. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's how skiing used to be. Let's see here. Let's see. These are some of the last ones before all of their PWCs became boats. My brother has a 2020 RXTX 300, and I prefer my ski all day long. Totally different experience. Very true. Yeah. The RXPX 255 and then consequently the 260 were two of the last really small muscle craft. Those are kind of gone now. Tell you what, it made an FZR look like a battleship. Couldn't thank God for updated bearings. Yeah. Mine is getting a preseason supercharger rebuild this year. Oof. 2009, no one was on the water with PWCs. We were the only ones in Southeast Massachusetts for like 3 years. It's kind of fun to have the water to yourself. That's kind of cool. Let's see here. Learn to ski on 2 ZXIs. Okay, very cool. Any questions? Everyone's just kind of commiserating. The GTR 215 and Yamaha VXR innovated the mid-range performance segment. Good performance for more reasonable price. Very true, Zachary. Yes, you're correct. The VXR in 2015 was a blast. That was a really fun ski. It was kind of unchallenged until the GP came out. And that was in 2017. But the GTR 215 to me was just, it had brakes, it had, it had a better seat design, it had sport mode, it had some neat bells and whistles. It was just a good ski. I had a 2002 GTR. Steven writes, I had a 2002 GTR for a month. I ended up selling it for a 2015 VXR that I thought was better in almost every way. I had my GTR at the same time as my 08 RXPX 255. Let's see here. Mark writes, I like Kawasaki 310 too. Just a little. Okay, I talked about that. It's really like a 37-pound weight difference between that and the previous, the S3 RXTX 300. All right. Cliff writes, I love Kawasaki, but when I open my wallet, I always go Yamaha. Maybe this will be the year of the mistress. That's pretty funny. Zachary writes, there's a 2019 310 SE with 8 hours at the local dealer. If I had the money, I'd buy it. What color was the 2019 SE? Was it red? I want to say it was red. Zachary, let me know. Okay. Steven writes, My top 5 that I've owned. Okay, these are that he's owned. All right. 04 RXP, 2010 RXTX, 2012 GTR, 2013 FZR, 2015 VXR, 2014 VX Cruiser, 2014 FX Cruiser SVHO, 2008 RXPX, 2020 GP 1800R, and 2012 Ultra X, 300X, even before the 310. Okay, very cool. Miami boat ramps. The Ultra was great to ride on long rides as it was comfortable. The biggest problem with the Ultra was that it was the least fun ski I ever owned. Really? Guy. Well, it wasn't fun in a squirrely sense. It wasn't fun in a rowdy kind of RXPX kind of way, or an EXR kind of way. It's not loose. It's not. It's very planted. It's a very deep keel, high dead rise hull. So yeah, you're not going to get the same kind of feel out of it. All right. Just hydro dip the parts in the colors you like. I don't know which would be cheaper. I could wrap it, but I don't know. New STX is red and white. Yeah, that's the STX, plain STX. Meh. K-Speed, yeah, the K-Speed kit's awesome. Zachary writes, 2011 310 or 300X was red and it looked so good. Okay. Fisher writes, yeah, I did the neutral on the STX and the amount of force when the bucket is in neutral is too great and it snapped the alloy boss. Really? Wow. Now that's interesting. Huh. Toby writes, endless hydro on Instagram. He can match any color from any brand, make, or model and dip any part of any ski for you and clear it. All right. Toby, thank you. That's a great suggestion. I don't think I'm buying one anytime soon, but it'll be good to know. Kevin Lamb, the winner is 1996 Seadoo. I know, guys. I'm teasing. I'm giving you a hard time. There's a million people who love the XPs. I know. I'm giving you a hard time. I'm busting everyone's chops on this. All right. All right. Best two-stroke. I already mentioned it, in my opinion. Let's see. XP, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I like the Ultra 150 in the day. Oh, there you go. There's always something wrong with them. I mean, everyone's got their warts. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's got something. Toby writes, it's amazing. That's the Vader on water FX. Absolute killer. It was. And it's the reason I literally dressed up as Darth Vader in it. Sinister. Totally sinister. 2020 Yamaha FX SVHO. Darth Vader. I agree. It's beautiful ski, hands down. 50 hours on my FX and 0 issues. Kevin, 2.5 miles per hour on the HO2? Question mark. That is a good question. You will pick up miles per hour because you are eliminating drag. Is it going to be 2.5 miles an hour? I do not know. I know you pick up miles per hour. I know you pick up at over 1. So 1.5 is minimum. 2.5? Sure. Sounds like what I did with my GP 1800R, or the changes I made to the GP 1800R. Okay. I skipped ahead. Let's get back here. All right. Just what I wanted to hear for my new FX SVHO. All right. Mark writes, still have a 06 GP 1300R in black. Replace the gold seat cover with a black one and remove the gold decals and have blue ID numbers on it. Love the look. Still more fun to ride than anything modern. It is, I mean, they're fun skis. Don't get me wrong. Got 20 hours on my new 2020 FX SVHO. Got the Riva plate installed, but haven't tried it yet. I hear a lot of guys having bouncing issues with the ride plate. Make sure you have the pump. Make sure you have the pump seal kit. Number one, and also look at shimming it. If you do have, I've never heard of people bouncing on it, but definitely get the shim kit, or shim kit and the pump seal kit. All right. What would you do for the FX SVHO? Ride plate and engine breather. You don't need to reflash the ECU when doing any good. Don't need to modify the exhaust at all. Don't need really to do the air intake. So I do sponsons and the ride plate, pump seal kit, sponsons. All right, from someone that has an 1800 SVHO too. Original Wave Blaster. Original Wave Blaster, number one, dude, was rad. A lot of fun. But I had honestly more fun on an EXR than I'd have on an original Wave Blaster. I had too many problems with the Wave Blaster, and I'm way too big for a Wave Blaster. No. Unknown Hero 85. Waiting on my new GP 1800R HO. Should I get a free flow exhaust? No. You're not going to pick up enough that you'd even feel it. You're just going to get noise. It's not even worth it. I mean, if you want the noise, then okay, cool. But you're not going to pick up anything. Low end torque, no. Top end horsepower, no. I do very little on it. Sponsons. Let's see here. Where can I find your RXTX Riva Pro Series sponsons installation video? Didn't do an installation video. BNN. I did not do an installation video. I did an article on the sponsons. Putting on sponsons. If you can't put on sponsons without a video, maybe you shouldn't be modifying a ski. All due respect. All right. Get some silicone, in a little gun or in a little squeezy. Take your sponsons off. Clean the surface. Take the backing plate. Put a bead of silicone on the outside and a little dab around the nuts. And Riva gives you instructions. If you can't follow those instructions, I don't even want you operating a jet ski. If you can't operate those instructions, you can't follow those instructions. Super simple. And just put it in, thread the bolts in there. And this guy's getting a little loose. And then tighten them up. They give you the torque specs. And then you can put the blade on there and put the blades at the third position. That's the middle one. Okay. Okay, Mark writes, don't do it. Solus props are known to explode sometimes anyway. Mark is wrong. The Solus props he's talking about are the cheap Chinese knockoff Solus props that Jerry Gaddis and I did a video together debunking this. Guys, it's on my channel. Please, Green Hulk's own Jerry Gaddis and I detail what's happening with the cheap Chinese knockoff Soluses. Because guys are saving $100 by buying the cheap knockoff Soluses, and they come in a box that says Solus on it and everything. If you want a real Solus prop, buy it through Riva, and it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be cheap. Or you can get a Scat Pack or a Scat Track one. The Scat Track one if you want that. But Solus, they'll have it to you pretty soon through Riva. They're not cheap, but they won't blow up. The real ones don't blow up. All right. Stage 1 Plus calls for prop change according to Riva. Okay. Stage 1 doesn't. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Stage 1 Plus does. Any mods you suggest for a GTR 230 for some performance? Intake grate sponsons. I haven't seen I haven't seen a reflash that has done much more than sport mode. So, I don't know what to tell you on that one. But yeah, intake great, sponsons just for handling characteristics. Engine wise, I leave it alone because it's a 215. Or a 230 for that matter. 230 still caps off it. I mean, I don't think it's speed limited. You could see if Riva has any tunes for the 230. I might be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll check it out myself because that's a good question. All right. Got a free 2007 GTI. It has minor hull damage. What do I buy to fix that? It runs great. It depends on how severe the hull damage is. It really does. I mean, if it's punctured all the way through, that's a lot of work. If it's just got a crack in it or some minor gel coat damage, that's a pretty easy fix. That's like doing body work on a car. Future podcast topics. Different type of mods across different brands. We typically do that here in the questions. Larry writes, Kevin, a bunch of my friends have a VXR 215, 216-ish. I just bought a 2021 FX SVHO cruiser. What do you recommend to keep up with them without having to go to 91 octane fuel? Leave the engine alone. Do the ride plate. Do the pump seal kit. It's still you're not gonna have any success with reflashing the ECU. Shoot. You're not gonna catch up. You'll get closer with the ride plate. The ride plate's gonna get rid of some of that extra drag. All right. 2012 RXPX 260 was the peak muscle craft for me. All right. Anyone else experiencing the Kawasaki 300X just using a ton of gas? Yes. Never had a ski use so much gas. Yes. Couple reasons. The ECU, Kawasaki's Hail Mary when the ECU starts reading really when the ECU starts reading high internal temperatures, when the ECU starts sensing a lot of blow-by, it'll dump gas in. The extra gas is keeping detonation from happening. It's trying to keep the pistons from blowing up. So here's what I strongly recommend. Steven, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. Take your intercooler out. Get some air conditioning spray cleaner. It's called coil cleaner. It's what you use like an outdoor AC unit. And you're going to have to look inside your intercooler to see if it's full of freaking milkshake, full of oil and water. Clean it out. Clean it out. Dawn soap, hot water, pour it in one side, pour it out the other. That might work. The AC cleaner stuff is the best thing I've ever encountered. Put it back in. Check the intake tubes. Check the supercharger. All the plumbing going to the intercooler. Make sure that's not lined with milky white oily crap. Do an oil change. Do a couple oil changes. You want to make sure you get all that contaminated oil out. Run, I wouldn't say run race gas through it, but I would fill it up. I do about 15, 16 gallons of regular 91 and then I'd pour some like 108 octane race gas in there. And I want to see if it clears it up. Because you might have really bad carbon buildup on your valves, and that's causing the valves not to seat all the way. You might have a lot of buildup on your piston rings, and that's what's causing a lot of blow by. So I don't know how many hours you got on your 300, but it sounds like you need to do some internal house cleaning with that engine. All right. Shoot, I skipped ahead again. Got a lot of questions all of a sudden. All right. Litecoin Bull writes, bought a 2020 FX SVHO last April. Because of COVID, I only put 10 hours on it. So while I had it sitting up, I decided to put a full Stage 3 Riva kit on it. Looking forward to getting her wet this year. Woo! Hope you're ready. That's going to be rowdy. That's going to be rowdy, dude. Ooh. Just bought a new GTX for longer rides. How do you like the ride on that ski? I hate the hull. I shouldn't say hate it. Ugh. I hate that. I shouldn't say that. Broncos. Yeah, Broncos guru. I love the fun skis that can break loose on after hearing you talk about the EXR you talked about. Is that a good backup ski for fun days? 100%. Oh my gosh, EXR, so awesome. GTX, the GTX hull is the same hull as the RXTX, is the same hull as the Fish Pro, same hull as the Wake Pro, and the same hull as the Moose Pro. That's a practical joke I did on the magazine. The hull has hunting problems. The bow hunts really, really bad. Like, really bad. And you need Pro Series sponsons. You need the Pro Series, the Riva intake grate for sure. Pump seal kit. No, that's only on the Yamahas. Riva intake grate. Riva sponsons. 100%. It's not going to eliminate the bow hunting, but it's gonna make it a lot more manageable. So please check out those two items. All right. Riva sells the HKS blow-off valve with the Riva tubing. Do you suggest this for the SVHO engines? Only if you're stage 2 and above. Only if you're stage 2 or above. That's it. That's all I got to tell you. Stage 2 and above. It's the haul over dude. Yes, it's the haul over dude. Long haul. That was the name of the videos beforehand. Was long haul, but we changed it to just the Watercraft Journal. All right. Wave Blaster was great. I have it sitting in my backyard. Has not ran in 12 years. Time to get on it. I got a 2021 FX SVHO, all black, sponson intake, free flow exhaust, and what else do I need? Ride plate. Ride plate. Must have the ride plate. At 72 miles an hour, that ski is kind of squirrely dangerous. Yeah. You need the ride plate. You don't even need the exhaust. Yeah, get rid of, that's not true. Put the exhaust on if you reflash the ECU. With the stage 1 kit. Stock, you don't need to modify the exhaust. But if you're going stage 1 and above, free flow exhaust. All right. Scott writes, had a 93 XP with no sponsons from factory. Oh, mama, did that thing slide the tail? Factory put them on halfway through summer. Yeah, that's right. Darn right they did. All right. Let's see here. Oh, geez. I keep skipping ahead. Holy cow! We just got a super chat from COD Junkie. Outstanding. Thank you. Holy cow. Okay. Sorry, guys. Try to explain to me why supercharged Kawasaki's are blowing the oil out of their sumps and losing pretty much all compression. Huh. That's a good question. Sounds like the oil cooler is flawed. Now, are you saying yours, or are you saying all of them? Because I don't believe all of them are. And it might be overfilled with oil, because that's a lot of oil pressure. You know what sucks is that they don't put oil pressure gauges on these things. You need to have a good operational oil pressure gauge, because if they're blowing hoses off, then it's oil pressure through the wazoo. All right. Billy, Gina's 2016 Cowie 310R gets 4.3 miles per gallon at best. Keep in mind, cruising 5,000 RPMs around 45 miles per hour for 85 miles to the tank at best. She's got 484 plus hours, and that has never changed. Yes, get the map tuner. You'll love it. Actually, what are your thoughts on a GP Stage 1? Stage 1 kit for GP, killer. Like 83 miles an hour, 82 and change, 83 miles an hour, rounding up, killer. It's killer. It's amazing what can be unlocked out of today's supercharged four-stroke runabouts. I'm floored by it. All right. Would you mod a 2021 GTX 300 Limited Stage 2? No. 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 You dropped 18 grand on a ski. Because you wanted like a CTSV Cadillac. All right, it's a Cadillac. You're gonna drop a lot of money on a ski with a difficult hull. It's a problematic hull. So no matter what you do with it, you could. If your girlfriend's a monster, all the plastic surgery in the world is not going to change her personality. And the GTX, that's kind of the GTX hull. The ST3 hull just has that stupid keel that bow hunts like just a mother. I'm seeing, and now mind you, if you ride flat water, let's be honest. If you ride glass and you ride flat water and you just want to get in a pissing contest with your buddies, go ahead and spend the money. But I think you're going to struggle in anything else. If you hit any rough water, it's going to fight you. And then you're going to have all that power behind it that's going to exacerbate the problem. All right? It magnifies the problem. So I really cheer dad. I don't recommend it. Kevin writes, just picked up a 2021 VX Cruiser HO. Would you suggest any upgrades? No, not a one. Leave it alone. Leave it stock. Kevin, enjoy the heck out of it. Rack up 1 million hours on it. During COVID, I put 211 hours last summer. Woo! Kevin, what was your first ski? Ever ride a Tiger Shark 1000 or a Polaris SLX? No, I never rode either of those. Well, okay. I'm already at 1 hour and 44, guys, and I'm still not done through your questions. Are we going to 2 hours with this one? Because that seems really excessive. But I'll tell you this. All right. growing up, my dad had a rental business, and he rented ATCs back before people, weren't suing each other. Well, that's why he got out of the business, was there people were suing each other. But he rented quads and ATCs and little sand rails, and then stand-up jet skis. And he had like some 440s and some 550s, and he had a 440 with a 550 pump, and he loved it. He, to this day, he's 78 years old. He's like, best ski I ever owned. And we'd go out to like Lake Elsinore and Pyramid Lake, because I grew up in Southern California, and Long Beach Marine Stadium, of course. And I'd ride these stand-ups as a kid. Sorry, I'm adjusting my belt. And, I was a kid. I was 8 years old, 9 years old, farting around on my knees, riding a 550 around. And then he got two Yamaha Wave Runner 500Ts, white with the red strobe stripe sticker on it. And I loved it. And he would just let me go out. I was 10 years old, and he's like, go ahead. I'm like, all right. Go right around, do donuts, spin around. And, this is the mid 80s, 86, 87. And, yeah. So, I grew up on the first Wave Runner. And then they had the Wave, it was the Wave Jammer with the stupid gooseneck. Came out the same year. He had one of those too. Didn't really like that one as much. But it was trying to replicate a stand-up experience on a sit-down. Not so much. But the sit-down Yamaha Wave Runner 500, we had one of those. We had a wet jet. I rode a wet jet. That was like 88, 89. So I grew up around these things when I was a little kid. But yeah, I remember riding the first 86 Wave Runner 500s. Let's see here. Can you? No, I'm not going to tell your wife anything. Hi from Canada. This is Chris V. You gave us $5. Just put my son to bed and now got myself, but always watch every Monday after work. Thanks for making great content. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm sorry this one's going 2 hours. At 2 hours, I'm cutting this off, by the way. Kevin, what do you think of Yamaha Ring Free? A lot of guys swear by it. I used to use it on my two-stroke years back, and it seemed to work well at keeping the engine clean. Any thoughts? Larry, I've never used it. I know what it is. I've just never used it. And I have guys that are like, seafoam it. Do you seafoam? I'm like, no. I'm so anal about engine maintenance that I've never really had to. As you're rating, what type of water? River, lake, ocean? All. We use all. We do all. Look up haul over inlet videos on YouTube. Okay, I'll check it out. COD Junkie. Honda would dominate the market if they would have stayed in it. Honda had the means to it. They didn't have the heart to do it. And then, unfortunately, 2009, 2010, 2011, you had the big financial, Obama years crash. Everyone lost their jobs. No one was buying jet skis. They were like, peace out. We're done. All right. Let's see. They do Miami boat ramp. Okay. Guy, everyone keeps asking, can you tell my wife Priscilla that I need to buy her a GPR? No, I don't know. Shoot. Well, that's disheartening to hear about the GTX. I've not taken possession yet. It's still at the dealer. Is it bad enough I should switch to an FX as that was my second pick? Listen, it depends on how aggressive a rider you are. It depends on where you're riding. It depends on what you're going to do with it. The GTX is it's super comfortable. Oh, it's so ergonomic seats, so comfortable, and storage is good, and ergonomics are fantastic. Low speed stability is great. It looks beautiful. But if you're out in the open ocean, I'd want to be on an FX. If you're in any sort of rough water above 2 foot, I'd want to be on 2 foot and above. I'd want to be on an FX. The gauge cluster is cool. It's super cool. But I'm an old muscle car guy, so I mean, it's cool. I can recognize it for being cool, but it doesn't tickle my nether bits. It doesn't do anything for me. You know, I can live with a Garmin GPS or my phone, and it's already got the sound system, for goodness sake. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Broncos. I'm not trying to cost Seadoo a sale here at all, but it just depends on what kind of riding you're doing. Bought an SG3 thinking it would be better than my S3 RX. I was wrong. Yeah. What is the best rough water personal watercraft? It's a tie between a modded FX and an Ultra. I have more seat time on an Ultra. I used to race Ultras offshore in the Pacific Ocean. And boy, I know my way inside and out of an Ultra. But the FX has racked up a lot of race wins offshore, and it's for a good reason. The haul over is an inlet in Miami that a guy films all the boats coming in and going, $1 million go fast boats. Okay. Oh, I've seen those, and they're terrible. It's just people eating it. I mean, he gets 1 million views, but it's hard to watch. Thanks. My 300X had 40 hours on it when I sold it. It ran great, but just seemed to use way more gas than my Yamahas. Yes, Yamaha is the most fuel efficient personal watercraft in the market. Full size supercharged, 100%. Full size naturally aspirated, 100%. Yamaha is the best fuel mileage, hands down. Looks like I'll be getting a slightly used EXR or current gen FX SVHO. You should. I was pulling the trigger on a GTX thinking the same. It was going to be better. No, sorry. You're describing Seadoo 3D. POS. I rode a Seadoo 3D, and standing up was kind of fun. Sitting down was compacting your spine. That was a terrible idea. That little go-kart seat that it had. Oh, wow. And then the Schwinn banana seat thing. Oh, boy, that was a rough one. Okay, how many hours can you get on a 2020 GP when you take good care of it? I don't know. 500? 1,000? 1 million? Love the channel, Kevin. Thank you. So the Super Chicken didn't make the list. No. The Kawasaki SC did not make the list. Surprise. I was told FX was a wetter ride. Yes, Grant, it is a wetter ride. It is a wetter ride because of the ride plate. The ride plate is this. The ride plate was intentionally designed to slow the ski down because with a perfect, correct ride plate, it'd be a 71 mile an hour ski. You put a Riva ride plate on it, it brings the nose up. Suddenly it's a drier ride. It's a far superior handling ride, and it's about 2.5 miles faster, 2.5 miles an hour faster. So yes. But apples to apples, yes, it's a demonstrably wetter ride. If you did not change if you didn't change the ride plate. Okay. Mario Kart. Yeah. Hey, Kevin, never heard you mention pro watercraft racing. Your opinion? I'm glad they're keeping it alive. I'm glad they're keeping it alive. You know, he and I have kind of knocked heads a couple times, but I think it's just because it's two really stubborn, opinionated, hard-headed guys. And I'll just I'll own that. But I think AJ's heart's in the right place, and he puts a lot of work in, and he's busting his butt to make it happen. And it's the closest thing we got into a national tour. It's a pale shadow of what the national tour used to be under Patrick Mell and the APBA. Pale shadow. But he's one man. So, yeah. I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping that it grows and it's successful. And I wish him the best this year. We'll be covering it. We always cover it. We cover racing. But yeah, I think he does a great job. I hope the attendance is up. I think the hardest thing is that it's just so many classes. It's so many classes because every racer bitches and goes, well, he's got this and I can't afford that, so I want a different class and I want to be separate. A happy racer is a complaining racer. And I don't know what else to tell you. Okay. Steven says, do the FX put shims on the ride plate or are they just bad? The ride plate is intentionally designed to slow the ski down. It's an air brake. The best thing you can do is pull it off and put it on a shelf in case you plan on selling it later. Selling the ski itself later. Buy the Riva ride plate, bolt it on, pick up 2.5 miles per hour, enjoy your life. That's all I'm telling you. All right. Let's see. We need, okay. Getting late Monday comes early. See you next week. Okay. Racing will be, bring back flying fish and racing. Oh, Fischetti? Chris Fischetti? Chris Fischetti is the adult poster child for ADHD. Not racism. I knew you meant racing, not racism. That's funny though. Chris Fischetti. I've spent time with the man. I love the guy. He is the biggest character on the planet. Chris Fischetti is the walking adult poster child for ADHD. And listening to that guy talk is like machine gun fire. I mean, Puerto Ricans don't speak Spanish faster than that guy speaks. That dude is unreal. Yeah, he's a fun dude. I know he tried to get his racing program off the ground. It was a little too, I think it was a little too niche. It's cool, but Havasu isn't the mecca for jet skiing anymore. It just isn't. It was when all the companies were there. It was when everything was in Southern California. It just isn't anymore. It just isn't. But there's people who will scream at you and tell you, nah, how dare you say so? Oh my gosh, it's the jet ski capital of the world. Okay. We got a statue and everything. Okay, cool. Look at all the companies. I get it. We got the World Finals. I know. I understand. But I'm just saying. Anyway. So no shimming the stock plate. No. Pull the stock plate off. Take it off. Hit yourself in the head a couple times. And go, Kevin was right. And then put it on the shelf. And then put the Riva plate on. And then you'll go on your ride. And you'll be like, oh my gosh. That obnoxious redhead who won't shut up was right. And then you'll send me a thank you note. And then I'll ask you to buy a shirt. All right. All right. Let's see. Yeah, the rear end jumps around at top end. It does. It's unstable. You got to get rid of that plate. All right, Seadoo 230 and 300 is the same engine. What's the power difference? They're not identical. There are internal differences. Not a lot, but there are some internal differences. All right, guys. Yes, Jim can cut the ride plate. I'm just saying, if you ever want to reverse what you've done to your ski and sell it for more money, because a ski with a hole in it in the back for an exhaust and a ski with a modded ride plate is going to be worth less money than a stock one. So, and most people rotate out skis every 5 years. That's just what people say. So, guys, we're at 2 hours. This is stupid. All right, I'm done. But I'm going to say, Jim's will cut it. Jim's ride plate does a great job. Guys get tons of mile an hour out of it. It's great. It's great. All right, does good work. Solid dude. But if you ever want to reverse what you've done and sell your ski at a later day, put the stock part on a shelf. Go to Home Depot, get a plastic tub, and put all the stock parts, the stock sponson, stock ride plate, all the stock crap, put it in the tub, put a lid on the tub, and put it on a shelf in your garage and mark jet ski parts and put the other parts on there, and you're groovy. And it's 100% reversible. Okay? This is not the ski you're going to die with. I guarantee it. 5 years from now, there's going to be some whoop-de-doo freaking ski that you're like, I have to have this. And you're going to sell everything. So, you misspelled holes, by the way. All right, I'm done. Guys, 2 hours and 2 minutes. This is the longest I've ever gone. I was actually hoping to do this one in an hour. So, stupid. I apologize. But we did spend an hour answering questions, so that's a record for me. All right, guys, thanks again. Again, we have all the sizes and colors of the shirts and hoodies at the store again. They restocked. I'm sorry for you guys who couldn't find the right size and the right colors that you wanted. They should be in stock again. And we also cut $50 off of the auxiliary fuel tank system. If you're looking at almost doubling your fuel mileage or the fuel distance, I shouldn't say mileage, but you know, your riding distance. If you want to double your riding distance, our tank system is the way to go. We've got a couple guys in Florida. They were the first ones to buy it. They're already out there riding because it's 80 degrees all the time in Florida. A bunch of a-holes. And as it's snowing again outside. Screw you, Florida. But anyway, that's the way to go, is use that system. And yes, you can order it with the Rotopacks kits. So that's another thing. All right, guys. Hey, before you leave, is your fuel tank better than the Australian one? I don't know what Australian one. So, sorry. All right, guys. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Dunzo.